Hello, everyone. It's your boy Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. And this past Monday, I went to go see, for one of the four times only that it was in theaters, the final chapter in the Firefly trilogy from Rob Zombie, Three from Hell. And we will get into my review after the jump. Real quick, if you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell anytime we have something. You'll be the first to know. We're close to 100. We're on that road to 100. So once we get there, I'll do a little contest and I'll give somebody something. First 500 folks that become subscribers to the channel will be the founders of the channel, and I'll do a whole contest and thing for that as well. So before I get into the actual review, I need to kind of give my road to the through the Firefly films and how I felt about them. House of a Thousand Corpses, when I first saw it, I was not a fan of. I did not like that movie at all. There were some things that I enjoyed. I thought Sherry Moon as Baby was fucking brilliant. But the movie as a whole was a little too scattered and not focused for something that I would enjoy. I did go to the theaters, however, still to see The Devil's Rejects, and that movie is in my top 10 films ever. Absolutely love that movie. It's very different than House of a Thousand, but obviously it's using the same characters and whatnot. And Devil's Rejects and my love for that and how I grew to love those characters in that film with Otis, Baby, Captain Spaulding, and those folks made me go back and rewatch a House. And while I still don't think it's a great film, whereas I do Devil's Rejects, I do think it's a lot better than I had originally given it credit for. And now I see that the styles, Rob Zombie was definitely trying to recreate the idea of going into a house, a haunted ride or haunted mansion, recreating that in film. That's why it's so scattered and scenes are like the way that they are. It's a very stylized film. I see that now, and I enjoy it now because of that. And it is Devil's Rejects. My love for Devil's Rejects has made me go back to watch and respect and kind of admire aspects of House of Thousand, much more than I did when I first saw it. So me being the massive fan of Devil's Rejects, I went to Three from Hell. Like, I was amped. I was ready for this movie, and I was like, yes, finally, we're going to see these characters continued on. Although, if anyone is a fan of Devil's Rejects like I am, you know that the way that that movie ended did not make it seem that we would possibly be able to have this occur. Spoilers. It looks like at the end of that film, they have a massive shootout with the police, and Spaulding, Otis, and Baby are what we are believed to be killed, killed in action, shot dead. Turns out that wasn't the case, and that's sort of how Three from Hell opens. Basically, retconning what the perceived belief of that ending for Devil's Rejects was. And I don't think that's spoilers. You kind of, when you see the posters of Baby and Otis around, you kind of get that in. So I'm going to try to be as light of spoilers on my review as possible, but just so you know, that's where that film ends and this one begins. And I can see how that could be the discourse for a lot of people's bad taste in their mouths. I think Devil's Rejects, from start to finish, is Rob Zombie's best film. And I think that the way that ends is sort of poetic to have them go out in a blaze of glory, but then to kind of retrofit that for this film. I can see how that would bother you. It doesn't affect me so much because I know that you have to do that to get into this film. And I sort of accept that. We've all done, when you do horror movies, you kind of know that that's sort of the grounds that you're going to take, that these characters come back. They're sort of supernatural. I do get that with this film, especially the differences between House and Devils, that Devils is a lot more tangible and a lot more realistically based, or feeling. And so that they don't feel like they're Freddy, Jason, Chucky, Pinhead. They feel like they're a humanoid character. So if you shoot and stab them and basically leave them in a pool of blood, they should be dead. But we're in a horror world, so bring them back. Play it again. So these are my likes for Three from Hell. I think Sherry Moon is a goddess. I think she's fantastic. This is Baby's film. This film is Baby's, whereas I feel like some of the other ones were, two was more focused on Spalding and one was more focused on Otis. This is Baby's film, and she kills it. She kills it in all the films, but she's great in this. This is kind of her tour de force. I don't know how well Sherry would do outside of a Rob Zombie world or Rob Zombie film, but I think Rob gets her. She is Rob's muse, and he makes her look great, both in quiet moments and bigger than life moments. She is batshit crazy, and you feel it, and you also kind of get inside a little bit of when you put somebody in isolation. When they come out of that, they gotta let loose a little bit, and I think she does a great job. I think while not my other thing that I really like, while not the big enough jump from House of Thousand Corpse to Devil Rejects, Three from Hell does feel slightly different. I think there are some repeats and retreads of the way that things are done, from Devil's Rejects to Three from Hell. Particularly, there is a moment where in Devil's Rejects, this big scene in the hotel where they've held people captive. That feels a lot like a scene that repeats itself in Three from Hell. Doesn't feel that different. But I will say that once we get past that, the Three from Hell kind of takes a different tone and feels more like Once Upon a Time in Mexico or like Desperado, where that changes. But it's Three from Hell almost feels like it's three films kind of in one, whereas Devil Rejects is one, feels like one unique story. And because I like the differences between the first two, I think the slight difference, and I like, just like, okay, well, we're not going to do that all the way through Three from Hell. We're going to kind of add in this other element where it slightly changes the scope or where our people are. And I kind of dug that. I like that Rob has done what would essentially be three sort of stylistically different films for this trilogy so that they don't all feel the same. Although you can kind of see some repeat performances from, or repeat moments from Devils to this. It's not that bad that I didn't enjoy it. And third, I haven't seen all of Rob Zombie's catalog. Post Halloween 2, I've kind of fallen off. I didn't see Salem and I didn't see 31, although a friend gave me the Blu-ray for 31 and I will be watching that. I did not know how much there's some scenes in here directing wise that I was kind of blown away for him. Won't give them away, but there's some shots that of the way that people are killed. The last act of this movie feels like an action movie, and I think Rob Zombie does a really good job of doing that, to the point that I kind of am curious to see him do a low budget action film as opposed to always sticking with horror. That's just the way my brain works and just the way that I saw it. I would like him to kind of venture off and do a little bit something different. The dislikes. You have to be a fan of this series to enjoy this movie. I also don't see how you would have gotten here just watching this movie if you were not, but I do know that if you're not a fan of this movie doesn't go out of its way to over-explain Otis or Baby and where they come from, or Spalding, or the characters that are on play that are victimized by the Firefly family. But I think if you've gone through House to Devils to this, you kind of get an overlay of the Firefly family and what they stand for and what they mean. You need that to enjoy what happens here, because they kind of just go and expect you to know that. And then the victims don't ever get any type of explanation, which doesn't bother me because they're the victims. I think House of a Thousand Corpses, we enter that world through the teens who are trying to figure out the tree and all of that, and they're write their story. Devil's Rejects is basically told through the eyes of Captain Spaulding, like the Firefly family. It starts with them being raided on. And so we've now switched focus, whereas this film is still focused on the Firefly family. So I don't really need to know about the victims that much because they're mostly fodder. But I can see that if you are watching this film without seeing the others, you will see that there is a disconnect between laying out the storytelling beats of the Firefly family and the victims. Second, it is really hard for me, and I don't mind retroactively doing taking away the ending from Devil Rejects. I think but I think that's is a perfect film. I think if you're going to take away that ending, then you need to give me a better one here. And while I like the final scene of this movie, I'm not quite sure that I'm sold on, considering how breathtaking and how awesome that ending for Devil's Rejects was. I don't think this ending for Three from Hell is equal. And so you get into this weird thing of, well, why tell this? Why erase that, or erase that legacy to tell this story? Because I don't necessarily get the point of coming back to this world if there wasn't a grander story to tell. Now, this is where I like Devil's Rejects so much, and I've gone back to like a house, and so I like this Firefly family so much that I am okay being in this world. And I was like, oh well, you're giving me more. Cool, I'll take it. It just doesn't seem necessary. I like it, and we'll see. You get my review, my actual how I feel in a second. But I don't think it's truly needed. Like I would have been perfectly fine with just corpses and Devil's Rejects without Three from Hell. I like that we have Three from Hell. It's like the cherry on the top. But I was perfectly fine with ice cream and the chocolate. And the only last thing that I have is that there is a new character family member brought up in this family. I'm trying to do this without spoiling anything because I think if you're a fan of this, you want to kind of enter this world and go through the whole process on your own. But there's a new character named Foxy who is in relation to members of the Firefly family. That it sucks when films do this, and I've talked about it on previous podcasts and previous reviews, that when we do a third part, they kind of add things like, oh, this family member has been here the whole time, or this person's been around the whole time, or this person's always been known. We had never heard of this person before. And so for them Foxy to all of a sudden just come out of nowhere and be in relation to them to enough where he would risk what he does for them. I get that part of your family, but we as an audience don't know him. So it's kind of just like, well, I don't know who the hell this person is. Where the hell did he come from? So that's it's a cheat code that a lot of people do for part threes or spin-offs of films that I never like. Doesn't matter. I just don't like. You just randomly add another family member. Some of that could be because writing-wise, unfortunately, Sid Haig, who has since passed on, rest in peace, just wasn't able to film a lot. His health was deteriorating during filming, so I don't know if this character, that a lot of stuff what was supposed to go to Foxy was supposed to be Captain Spaulding's, and then it had to change on the fly. If it is, kudos. I get why you had to do it for script wise. I just wish something else would have been done. But all that said, my rating on the give me a time stone so I'll never have to see this again. Once is enough, or play it again, Sam. For me, as a fan of this series, this is a play it again, Sam. I'm going to probably buy this because I'm a completist and I want the entire trilogy. But I can see the people who are not fans of this, the series, not digging this. But again, at that point, why are you here? I would, and I also can understand, I definitely hear the complaints of the people who say, why was this necessary? Because a part of me feels that too. I just enjoy seeing Otis Baby Spaulding, and I guess now Foxy, so much that you could give me just them doing a road trip for an hour or like a web series or whatever, and I'm probably going to consume it. That's how much I love this. So I'm on that spectrum of, yes, for this world, I may not be a massive zombie overall fan, but for this Firefly stuff, I'm all in. So I may not be the right person to hear a review from, and that's why I gave you the info before of how I feel about these movies, to kind of know where I stand on the brand of the Firefly. To know that this is a play it again, Sam, for me as a fan, but just know that I'm a fan. And so some of the stuff that I may have an issue with on other films may not come up here because Devil Rejects is just fire to me. But that's it. If you want to email us, you can email us at hollywoodalreadydid@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. We also have a podcast by the same name that's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. Last episode, we talked about Joker. This coming Monday, we will have an episode about Zombieland Double Tap. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours?